Welcome in to another edition of Gold and Black Radio. I'm your host, Derek Schultz. Kids are out of school, and it is the unofficial start of summer, which is normally a dead period around here, but the news cycle never stops, certainly not in major college football and major men's college basketball. So we have both Tom and Brian ready for you this week, as we'll get the latest from both on the football and men's hoops ends of things for the Boilermakers. But first, a shout out to our great Gold and Black sponsors, including Purdue Federal Credit Union, a proud partner of Purdue Athletics and the official credit card for Purdue fans. Boiler Up, East End Grill and Ripple and Company, two distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street, the perfect place for your next event. The Whitaker Inn, this Midwestern oasis, is perfect for a relaxing staycation or a weekend getaway. Escape from the ordinary at the Whitaker Inn. Sand Valley Resort, where tee times for the 2025 golf season are now available. Using their online booking platform, it's easier than ever to find availability and experience golf as it was meant to be. Conveniently located in the breathtaking dunes of central Wisconsin, Sand Valley offers a collection of award-winning courses designed by world-renowned architects that are suitable for all skill levels. Visit sandvalley.com and book your tee times online today. And finally, the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research, which has a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Purdue brings together world-class Boilermaker scientists from across the university, conducting cutting-edge research that uncovers new ways to prevent, diagnose, and treat cancer. With your support, cancer research saves lives. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. Let's bring on the always handsome and prepared Tom Dienhart as we talk some Boilermaker football here from goldenblack.com. And Tom, before we get into the team-centric news, wanted to get your thoughts on this proposed 16-team playoff, because this is what's dominating the college football news cycle right now, and the strong arming, I guess for lack of a better term, that we're seeing from the SEC and the Big Ten. You like it? You hate it? Where are you at with all of it?
I guess I'm not really a big fan of it. I just love the totality of college football, I guess. And I guess I get it. You know, you swing a big club if you can swing a big club. They're going to get what they want in the end, I think, Derek. But you're right, 16 teams with 4 automatic qualifiers, I believe, from the SEC and the Big Ten as well. So just really stacking the deck, if you will. And then they can do it because they can, right? But I guess I'm, like I said, rising tide raises all boats. And then I guess I'd rather see everybody work together. The all for one, one for all. The common welfare of the totality of college football. I like Kansas as much as I like Michigan, Ohio State. I like Fresno State, Derek. I like them all. And I guess we're seeing the sport get more and more, I guess, separated and segregated and greater lines of demarcation made. And I guess long story short, I guess I'm not a real big fan of it.
Where do you think we go from here? Like, what do you think? Not the end game, because I don't think anybody could possibly predict the end game. No one 10 years ago could have predicted even where we are right now. But
yeah,
do we see the ACC and Big 12 become like pseudo divisions under SEC and Big 10 umbrellas, or or do we see Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame and Michigan and teams like that just break off from Purdue and Mississippi State and Vanderbilt and say, hey, why don't we start our own thing? Or like, what's next? What could possibly be next? I guess I should ask.
It seems like the move toward just the SEC and the Big Ten going off by themselves, maybe with a few other schools added in from the Big 12 and the ACC, right? Looks like, if I were to guess, looking at my crystal ball, I think that's what I would foresee, was a bulked up SEC and Big Ten going off and sort of playing their own brand of football at the highest level. Almost like, we heard the AFC versus NFC, like an NFL setup, right?
Yeah.
And you know what, Derek, I think you raised a good point too. I'm sure discussions have been had behind closed doors at schools like Michigan, Ohio State, and even, Tennessee and Alabama. Go, why again is Vanderbilt in the SEC? Why again is Northwestern in the Big Ten? How do they make our wad of money bigger? Why are they getting this big of a cut of the loot? It doesn't make any sense. So who knows? That would be a doomsday scenario for a lot of schools who would get, I guess, become that flotsam and jetsam, if you will. The Mississippi States, Minnesota. I think Purdue would be a school that got thrown off the boat. Ole Miss. On and on we go. So maybe that's down the road too, Derek, at some point. So everything's moving really fast, as we know right now, and everything's sort of being built on the fly as we speak too, right?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe this just comes from personally, I know you were there too, but personally speaking, we were there in Corvallis, and it's so awkward, right? Where here's this program that just got left behind, and they're just like in this weird world like Pac-2. It's so silly, and you feel bad for them because they have fans and they have a history and they have support. But I'm also thinking to myself the entire time, oh my God, I don't want it, just like any team like Iowa State or Purdue or, any of these that are kind of on the periphery of, they're not quite in the big brands category, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in danger of getting left behind. You feel safe right now in 2025, I guess, but Tom, no one should feel safe unless you're Ohio State or Alabama, I guess.
Yeah, I think you can probably name maybe 15 to 20 schools like that, right?
Yeah.
That are truly massive brands. That make a lot of money with their football program. So you're right. I'm like you. I love Oregon State, those type of programs too. I love the Pac-10, the Pac-12. That was a conference that had over 100 years of tradition, and we saw it go up in a puff of smoke as schools scramble for a safe spot, for a seat at the table. They don't want to be left behind. I get it. Everybody gets panicked and scared. I guess I probably would have done the same thing if I was Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC. But I don't know. I look at the NFL, and the NFL could probably kick out the Indianapolis Colts if it wanted to, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and maybe 10 other teams, Green Bay. But you know what? At one point, those owners had to all sit at the table together and say, "Look, man, we have to split this TV money the same way." And they thought there was a need for that viability to have all these franchises together, even though the New York Giants certainly could have demanded more money from the national TV contract than the Indianapolis Colts. But they didn't. And yes, those franchises make more money with local revenue, I'm sure, but still they found a way to make it work with cities and fan bases and markets that aren't massive. And college football seems to be wanting to kick everybody to the curb if you don't have just that massive appeal, that massive ability to generate money, it seems.
Yeah. Really kind of a scary state of affairs for a lot of teams, but we'll see. We'll see where the ever-changing world takes us. In the Purdue scope of things, no more scholarships. Is that right? Are they done?
That's what I'm told.
Okay.
They've used their last scholarship on that junior college offensive lineman that committed over the weekend. So portal shopping, and it may not be over. Derek, they may take some walk-on portal transfers, right? But as far as being able to give a full scholarship, those have been exhausted. My roster count I've got on the website at 114. Now nobody has any idea, Derek, how many people you're going to be able to have on your roster, right?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the settlement to come down from the House. So 105, 120, who knows? But anyway, I got him at 114 right now. So that's including walk-ons, the whole kit and caboodle. So, we seems like I'm told we're at the ceiling right now with scholarships. Now they had a high school commit yesterday, Memorial Day, a kid from Indianapolis, Lawrence Central High School, James Bam Williams, an offensive lineman. So they've got 7 commits in the class of 2026. They've got about 4 or 5 more official visits coming up this weekend. What I'm trying to say is, Derek, that's where our attention should be now, is on these high school kids. June's going to be here before we know it. OVs are taking place. They got 3 camps in June as well. And traditionally, Derek, it's a month where you see a lot of high school kids commit. So we could see that Purdue 2026 class maybe doubling commitments by we get to this time next month.
Yeah, and speaking of not only 2026, but local kids, where is Purdue with JJ Finch? Which just, by the way, Tom, it makes me feel, and I'm sure you feel this way already, you're probably laughing at me, impossibly old, that Jeremy Finch's kid is now almost old enough to play college football.
Yeah, you feel old? Yeah, you're right. Time marches on, buddy. But yeah, he took an OB this last weekend. Jeremy's I believe rated the number 3 recruit in Indiana in the class of 2026 by On3. An edge pass rusher, a special edge pass rusher who's going to go to visit places like Alabama, LSU, and Tennessee. We had an article on our site about him this week, and his OB was recapped by the On3 people. And he's saying all the right things right now, Derek. He likes what he's hearing from Purdue. He likes how they're talking about how they want to use him. He says they need him. Sure, everybody needs a guy like that, right? So they're whispering sweet nothings into Jeremy's ear at this point. And you know how this game goes. He's going to say good things about wherever he goes, right? And he wants to keep his options open, but he would be a heck of a get for Purdue, obviously. Just the fact that he took an OV, I think, if you get him or not, the fact that a guy like that's going to take time out to come to your campus for an official visit says a lot. So then this staff looks like it's turned over a lot of stones, already developed a lot of good relationships, and it's making some headway, especially with the in-state kids.
Is he going to go up in the rankings, Tom? Because, he's barely a top 500 player on 24/7. And I'm thinking to myself, well, or some of these other recruiting rankings. And I'm thinking to myself, well, he's got offers from Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan. The offer list doesn't match up. Rankings are what they are, right? Like, you've been in this business for a long time, whatever. You never, it's an inexact science, but looking at him as like maybe a 3-ish star prospect, certainly his offer list makes him look more like a 4, borderline 5-star player.
You'd think he'd be a 4-star kid. And I think maybe at some point they do reevaluate these 2026 kids. I can't say for sure, Derek. I'm not sure how they work with their rankings, but I'm with you, right? We always tend to look at or grade these recruits like we should by, hey, who's offered you? Who's offered you? And that really is supposed to speak to your status more so than even your star ranking. And you're right, the offer list and the star rating don't seem to really correlate for Finch. So maybe at some point we'll get adjusted. I'm with you, Derek. I think the kid should be a 4-star recruit across the board.
Yeah, surprised. I just was going through the offer list, and it's a who's who. I mean, it's everybody that you would ever want is in on him. So the secret is out. But, as you know, Tom, just the recruiting profile for kids in Indianapolis, it's really been raised over the past 10, 15 years as the talent has really improved. And we've seen a lot of great success stories from kids here in central Indiana that have gone on to do big things. You can check out Tom's work, goldandblack.com, as always. And even without any more scholarships potentially to hand out, the news cycle never really ends. But Tom, hope you get to catch a little bit of a breather here as we get into the summer months, and we will talk to you again here soon.
Thank you, buddy. Be good, Derek.
That's our friend Dom Dienhart, goldandblack.com. And speaking of the website, don't forget to, of course, hit like and subscribe on this episode, and you can leave a positive review and check out all of the Gold and Black Radio content, even past episodes as well. You can use promo code PU1 at checkout when purchasing a monthly subscription to goldandblack.com to get 2 months for $1. Subscribe to goldandblack.com as well on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and enable alerts. New highlights and videos are uploaded regularly, but at the site, again, promo code PU1 in at checkout when purchasing a monthly subscription to goldandblack.com. You get 2 months for $1. So whether it be Tom, whether it be Brian, whether it be Karpik, me, anybody over at goldandblack.com, 2 months for $1. PU1 at checkout for first-time subscribers at goldandblack.com. Let's go ahead, and I think I have to both change my audio. Sounds okay. There we go. And I think I have to go ahead and change my virtual background because we're about to talk basketball. So I'm on football right now, and boom, basketball. All right. Now we are ready for Brian Neubert, who has a much better background than I do. He's got palm trees in the back, taking a break from his vacation to join us here on the show. Brian, do you have any thoughts on the SEC and Big Ten 16-team playoff deal for football, where they eat up half the bids? Or do you even know that that's going on right now? I know
I don't really. I see a bunch of tweets about Greg Sankey. I assume they're moving ahead with their plans for world domination here. But they were always going to expand this playoff. Like, more is undefeated in sports, right? Like, anytime TV wants more inventory, they get more inventory. Anytime there's an opportunity for the SEC to get more people in the playoff, anytime there's an opportunity for the Big Ten to get more people in the playoff, more is undefeated. Anytime there's an opportunity to expand the NCAA tournament against the quality of the product so that more coaches can feel good about themselves because they make the NCAA tournament, making it less likely that they'll get fired, more is undefeated. So if they're talking about going to 16, my opinion was up front, they should have just gone straight from 4 to 20 because they were going to get there anyway. Just skip right to the end. Save us the annual committee, save us the annual discussion, save us the endless lobbying through the media, and just go right to 20 because they're going to get there eventually. And before you know it, it's going to be the entire Big Ten and the entire SEC are just going to play with like 4 other teams from around the country and determine a national champion. It's all just theater. This has already been decided. They're gonna expand this thing. It's just a matter of, I don't know what the matter is. But they're gonna expand the thing. So the Big Ten and the SEC will get more money and more playoff spots, and all their coaches will be happy, all their administrators will be happy, and the product will probably get watered down.
I mean, glass half full, if we were doing 16 teams under this format this year, it wouldn't look that different. I think you'd just swap Alabama for SMU, right? Because the Big Ten already had 4. So, right? I mean,
I'm trying to remember who was in the playoff.
So
I remember the thing I remember was Oregon was really, really good, and they deserved, I think a home game would have done them better than a bye, because their reward with the bye was they get Ohio State again. Whereas, who was it who got a bye? Notre Dame and IU played, right?
Yeah, and then Penn State, all they had to do was beat SMU at home and then go to Boise and win to make the semifinal. Whereas Oregon had to play Ohio State right off the bat, basically.
And Penn State had the easiest path.
Yeah.
And if you tiered, I'm sure you did, if you seeded all the teams that made the playoff, if you reseeded them, they would have been toward the bottom of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I think the problem is that you gave the 2 other conference champions an auto bid, or I think what happened was the group of 5 team. Didn't Boise have a better record than or a better ranking standing than Clemson, right? Who won the ACC? So Boise ended up getting a bye in a home game or whatever it was. God, it feels like it was really long ago, and it wasn't that long ago. But of the 4 teams, I mean, you had Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, and Oregon. So you had 4 already represented from the Big Ten. And then if you added Alabama, that would be the 4th from the SEC, because you had Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas. So I think simply that Alabama, but you're right, Brian. I mean, it's never going to end, because then the 17th team that's out is going to complain. And then when you go to 20, the 21st team that's out is going to complain, especially if it's an SEC or a Big Ten team, right? And so, the list just kind of goes on and on and on.
What the whole BCS structure did was to just move the argument from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, or from 4 to 5, and then ultimately to that next team out. It's not the 1 seeds we talk about in the NCAA tournament, right? It's the who got left out. So you're talking about 69, 70, 71, 72, essentially. So the argument's always going to move. And if you want to say football is a sport where everybody should have a chance at a national championship, I've always been conflicted on that. Like, cool that SMU had a great year, but like SMU, part of me wants to see the biggest brands out there. I'm sure a lot of people do. I'm sure the networks do, but you have to reward winning. And that's what people missed about Indiana when they were criticizing Indiana being in the field, is you got to reward the results. The schedule was what it was, but this is still a Big Ten team that just got a good schedule this year. It's not like they could have just gone out before the season and said, hey, let's go get, Texas to come to Bloomington or something like that. It's you schedule for what you are as a program. And if you win all your games, or if you win all but 1 game and that 1 loss coming to arguably the best team in the country, the eventual national champion, you should be rewarded for that. And but at the same time, people want to see Alabama in just because Alabama's Alabama. I'm arguing with the SMU part of it, and I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, that there's 2 ways to look at it. 1, you want the biggest brands. 2, you have to reward the results. There's got to be a mix between those 2 things. And if that's expanding the field to make sure SMU gets its due, Indiana gets its due, but you also get an Alabama in, there's nothing that says Alabama by birthright has to be in this thing every year. But they play in the toughest league in the country. They didn't have a great year. They lost at Oklahoma. And that's obviously the counter argument here is There's a very easy solution if you don't want to get left out of the playoff. It's don't lose to teams you shouldn't lose to.
And don't get rolled by them. It's not like it was 21-20. I mean, they got blown off the field. Yeah.
This is a sport where you've got young males, as I call them, the most volatile commodity on planet Earth. And every now and then you're just going to not show up. But when that happens, do you get a pass on that? Or you probably shouldn't. There's no real right answer to any of this. 16 teams is going to broaden the field. It's also not fair necessarily to the team that is the best team in the country and does everything. Ohio State, I think, was the best team in the country this year, and they obviously proved that. I have no idea what happened at Michigan, and that will lead well into my next point. If you're the best team in the country and you are clearly better than everyone else, but you're giving them more or less the same shot to win the whole thing as 15 other teams in a volatile sport where Ohio State can go out there and lose to Michigan somehow on their home field, and you don't win the title, you were not rewarded for your body of work because you gave everybody else a relatively equal chance. I know seeding, I know buys, I know home field advantage is a thing that tilts it in your favor a little bit, but how often does the best team in the country win in basketball? It doesn't happen very often. That's why I said last year's national title game was the rare exception to the realities of the NCAA tournament. You got the two best teams in the country in Connecticut and Purdue. That's not always going to happen in football. And I think it's kind of those teams are going to be the best team in the country more often than not. Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, LSU every now and then, Georgia. They should be careful what they wish for because you from a conference perspective, you want more teams in the field, but at the same time, when you have the best team, you're diminishing their ability to turn being the best team in the country into an actual championship.
Yeah, it's easier for all those Saban squads to have won one game or two games under the old formats than to win 4 games. Which what would happen under the new format. So, yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely a be careful what you wish for situation. Let's flip it to basketball. I feel like there's been plenty of talk about Braden Smith and the transfers this offseason. Not a lot of talk about Trey Kaufman-Renn. He had an unbelievable junior year, made a huge leap. Loved your story on him and Marion. My sister is near there, and that area of Indiana might as well be Pluto as far as blocking out noise and distractions.
Yeah.
So it's probably been good for TKR. How is the training going out there? I know you had that story on him, and it was really great to see.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dead zone up there. I think there's a lot of dead zones in Indiana and just this part of the country. That part of the country, I'm not there right now, so I can't say this. There's kind of a lot of dead zones throughout that part of the country, and he's certainly in one where you're just kind of isolated, focusing on nothing but your mind, nothing but your training, stuff like that. And he came up with this. This was his idea, and this tells you what this dude is all about. I'll tell you a little story that I'm saving for an article, or a big feature I'm going to do at some point this season. Is during COVID, he played his senior night game against Scottsburg at Silver Creek. A game I was going to go to that Friday night was canceled because somebody tested positive. So I just looked for somewhere else to go. So I decided to go to Silver Creek. Not a short drive, not a short round trip drive to do on a Friday night. But I go down there, I cover his game. I talk to him. We're all wearing masks at the time. It's pretty brutal. I come back. We had just moved into our house around this same time. And it's the Sunday afternoon after this Friday night, and I'm painting my office. I'm covered in paint. I'm sweating. It's not pretty. The job did not turn out well. Nevertheless, I take a break. I go to my phone. I have a text message from Trey Kaufman, the kid I had gone to go cover on Friday night, saying, "Mr. Neubert, ding number one. I know you've been around Purdue a long time. Do you have any thoughts as to what I can do to be successful at Purdue? What can help me, get off to a good start for Coach Painter?" And I'm just like, this isn't my place to reply to this. What should I do here? So, I didn't want to blow him off. He obviously took the time to text me, thinking I had some sort of wisdom I could share with him, which I didn't. I just told him he had really improved since the time I had first seen him, and he was obviously doing everything right, and to just kind of keep it going. But I wasn't terribly comfortable involving myself in that sort of thing, but I didn't want to blow him off. So, but that's the kind of kid you're dealing with here. It's I shouldn't call him a kid. I just use the word kid as default. This is an adult. This is a person who thinks like an adult, who processes things like an adult, who is mature beyond his years, thoughtful beyond any of our years. And this is what he thinks about. He thinks about complex topics, interesting topics. He thinks about getting better intellectually, physically, and for a guy who's as interesting and multi-layered as he is driven as hell as a basketball player. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really uncommon dichotomy he's got to him, because you don't see it very often in basketball players, athletes at that age in general. There aren't all that many of them you can have a conversation with about something other than, basketball. He's the exact opposite. But no, this was his idea to kind of sequester himself, to bring other players into the mix, to have kind of this boot camp for not only physical training, but also like classroom type academic approach to sort of like mindset training. He connected with Jordan Delks and his wife Courtney, the former women's basketball player at Purdue, and their trainers. They've got this farmland. It's not their farm, but it's amidst farmland, and they've got a couple gyms up there, and they're hosting this camp. They've got 11 guys up there who are living in 2 Airbnbs in Marion, and then spending their days, at skill and mind training boot camp, I guess we could call it. But there's a story up at goldenblack.com right now that's free and open to everyone. So I would encourage everyone to go read that. So I think he's going to have a really big year. I think it's going to be different for him, because I think a lot of pressure is going to be off him, which, probably sounds counterintuitive given the stakes of this season. But I think playing next to size again with Daniel Jacobson and Oscar Clough is going to take him out of that really uncomfortable position he had to be in, where he had to be the center. He had to guard centers. He had to rebound like a center. He had to overachieve just to counteract what he didn't have against people who had that vertical size, that physicality and things like that. When you look at his stamina, when you look at his foul trouble through the course of the year, how much better would things have been if he wasn't having to overachieve on the glass every single game and occasionally guard bigger people. The guy led the Big Ten in scoring, or damn near led the Big Ten in scoring last year, with the weight of the world on his shoulders, because he had to do so much for that team last year beyond just being that offensive go-to guy, and it really didn't put him in the best position to succeed. I think this year a lot of that burden's going to be taken off of him a little bit, and I think you're going to see his best basketball.
Yeah, can't wait. I mean, can't wait, obviously, for the team just in general, but TKR is definitely one of those guys you can't wait to see what he does for an encore after what was just a spectacular 24-25 season. Brian, we'll let you get back to it over there on the beach, but check out that column, everybody, goldenblack.com, if you want to see TKR's story from up there in Marion and his offseason workouts. Enjoy Florida there, my man.
Thanks, Derek.
It's our friend Brian Neubert joining us from a hotel lobby, his favorite place to work, and that's our show for Golden Black Radio for this week's edition. Thanks so much to our fantastic sponsors, Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit card for Purdue fans, East End Grill and Ripple & Company, 2 distinctive bistros across the street from one another on the far end of Main Street in Lafayette, the Whitaker Inn for unparalleled comfort and cuisine. Visit the Whitaker Inn. Sand Valley Resort, tee times for the 2025 golf season at Sand Valley are now available. Visit sandvalley.com and book your tee times today. And the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research, which has a history of innovation and one goal for the future: defeat cancer. Join the fight and donate to the Purdue Institute for Cancer Research today. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And, of course, you can leave a positive review right here on Golden Black Radio if you enjoy this show. And really hope you do. And thanks so much for tuning in, even in the offseason when we're talking about a projected football playoff and workouts in a barn somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. Because that's the content that we have right now when it comes to men's basketball and football as the only quote-unquote dead period of the entire sports season. But appreciate you joining us here on Gold and Black Radio, and we will see you next time. Have a great week.